are my pictures? What the heck is that? Okay, that surprised me.
That is my AI generated shroom. The new Microsoft AI program.
Mm-hmm.
I asked it to generate me a mushroom in the forest with the face and mouth, and that's what it gave me. I think it's kind of cute myself.
Yeah, it just surprised me is all. I wasn't expecting it.
And it kind of resembles my original shroom avatar, the one I built back in the 1980s, which was, I'll show it here. Let's see. Yep. We can go ahead and end everything and go. Let's see. And the music and that. And there we go. Let's see here. As I've said, as I've shown before, take away the face on this and just the black outlines. And that is my original shroom avatar that I designed back in about 1983.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it has evolved as my anger has, and as I've gone from being a nice scout leader to an angry shroom yelling at the sky.
Yeah. So what do you think about the whole Secretary of War as opposed to Defense now?
Hey, morning, Paul. How you doing today? I'm still getting used to it. It's I understand the idea behind it, and it makes more sense. That was a question I'd often had. Why do we call ourselves defense when it's a war? And that's what, the image we need to, we need to project to the world that we are willing to go to war, not just defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And but I also understood that the nicey people in the country, uh, you know, the idea of going, that's just that name, Department of War, is just too harsh.
Mm-hmm.
And and I believe that was the reasoning behind the name change originally. So when they went from originally Department of War to Department of Defense.
Yeah, that was at the beginning of the Cold War too, and it may have been trying to smooth it out, like you say, because we didn't want to have a war, actual war.
Right. So, but a couple of things I wanted before we get it. Well, we're going to get into the Pete Hegseth thing, and we're probably going to do the whole 45 minutes, the whole 40-minute speech of his. All right. But a couple of things that popped up here that have kind of, guys, I have to apologize. Last week, something hit me Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And when I got home from work Wednesday morning, I crawled into bed, and I did not crawl out of bed for any length of time until Friday morning. And I would get up and sit at the computer for about an hour in the morning, and to get the wife off to work, help her get her stuff together and everything. And as soon as she had her act together, I'd crawl right back into bed and I'd sleep for another 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah. The best of us get hit eventually.
And I mean and I've never been hit for. I mean, the wife almost called off work the
Mm,
first day because I've never gone back to bed before she left for work and fell back to sleep as fast as I did. So yeah, that was something else that absolutely destroyed me for those 4 days.
yeah. Probably just the flu.
I wasn't really running a temperature,
Hmm.
and I wasn't coughing up any phlegm or anything. I didn't have diarrhea or nothing. I mean, I just could not stay awake. I mean, my body wanted to do was crawl into bed and sleep for 3 days. I mean, I sort of felt like a bear hibernating.
Hmm.
And I think it was more the BO that got me out of bed Friday morning than anything else. I mean, go 3 or 4 days without a shower, and your body starts to stink a little bit.
Yeah. You feel all sticky and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm feeling Paul. Thanks a lot, man. I'm feeling a lot better today, but I do have to apologize. That I missed a week of streaming like I did, but hey, sometimes stuff just happens. But the wonderful governor has not the one of Florida. Uh, well, I've almost forgotten how to use this program.
Don't ask me.
Yeah. Suddenly, this Democrat is taking issue with the word fascist because President Trump called him one. Called Mr. Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, a fascist.
I am so glad I got out of that state.
Okay, and we'll just say this is a town hall article, so understand, I mean, it's got its very conservative bent, but there's reasons why I use this instead of any of the other articles, any of the mainstream articles. Because, basically this very first sentence. For years, Democrats have repeatedly called President Trump, Republicans, and American voters fascists. Representative Rashid Tlaib said the ICE enforcement of our immigration laws is turning America into a fascist police state. Gavin Newsom's called Stephen Miller a fascist. Flyers on the Georgetown campus read, "Hey, fascist, catch," in reference to something engraved on the bullets used by Tyler Robinson when he shot Charlie Kirk. And Teachers Union head Randy Weingarten published a book promoted by Hillary Clinton where Weingartner calls parents fascists. So, I mean, yeah, Democrats been calling us, anybody who's to the right of them, a fascist, a Nazi, homophobes, Islamophobes, any ist or phobe that you can think of. It's gotten to the point where I don't. The word goes in one ear and out the other.
Exactly. It's lost all meaning.
Right. All those insults have lost all meaning. But now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker wants us to know it's dangerous for President Trump to call Democrats fascists. This is about sowing fear and intimidation and division among Americans.
Times. For Donald Trump and the MAGAs in Congress.
Oh boy, I mean, he even insults people because he's not saying MAGAs in a nice way. He's using it as an insult. So even when he's here saying that it's an insult to call him a fascist, he's got to insult Republicans to start with.
Times. For Donald Trump and the MAGAs in Congress, this is not about fighting crime or about public safety. This is about sowing fear and intimidation and division among Americans. It was about creating a pretext to send armed military troops into our communities. This is about consolidating power in Donald Trump's hands. What he plans to do with that power now or during the 2026 elections should worry all of us. When you add to that the Trump administration's effort to label as dangerous free speech critical of him, White House senior staff calling the Democratic Party fascist, the Trump-appointed FCC chair threatening to revoke broadcast licenses and the approval of a merger in order to silence late-night comedians.
Silence late-night comedians who lie. That's just the best way to put it. I mean, what the idiot did was lie from the get-go. And it actually is against FCC policy, FCC regulations to lie. When you are trying to proclaim something as a true statement, but that true statement is not true. Okay. It is in the regulations. And when networks air something that violate that regulation, that's when they can have the network lose their license, not the show. And they're not jerking. Well, I've said this before. I said this when this first happened. He was not losing his First Amendment rights. He could still say whatever he wanted to say. It's the fact that the network was going to lose their license for him saying what he said. That is a distinction. How many times have we had the network pull a show or cut away from something because the network did not like what was being said? Usually when it's a conservative out there saying something, but I'm sorry, you were going to say?
I was just going to say, look what happened to Roseanne.
Right. They
that
pulled
wasn't even
her
on the
show.
air.
Right. They pulled her show for her tweet.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Now, Pritzker, though, he has claimed that he has never used any of this. He's never called Republicans Nazis. Okay. Pritzker made a claim that, because he was kicked back. There was some kickback about this. And he proclaimed that he never used that kind of language when talking about Republicans. The problem is there's a video here of him speaking before the Congress, the state legislative body.
I do not invoke the specter of Nazis lightly, but
What was that he just said?
I do not invoke the specter of Nazis lightly, but I know the history intimately and have spent more time than probably anyone in this room with people who survived the Holocaust. Here's what I've learned. The root that tears apart your house's foundation begins as a seed of distrust and hate and blame. The seed that grew into a dictatorship in Europe a lifetime ago didn't arrive overnight. It started with everyday Germans mad about inflation and looking for someone to blame. I'm watching with a foreboding dread what is happening in our country right now.
Is he drawn lines between 1930s Germany and current United States? You think that's what he's doing?
Yep. Not to mention, we know who caused the inflation.
Yeah, we do. We do know.
A president who watches a plane go down in the Potomac and suggests without facts or findings that a diversity hire is responsible for the crash.
That's not exactly what he said, but okay.
Or the Missouri Attorney General who just sued Starbucks, arguing that consumers pay higher prices for their coffee because the baristas are too female and non-white. The authoritarian playbook is laid bare here. They point to a group.
Wait a minute. Is he calling Republicans authoritarians here?
Yep.
But he's never used that type of language. He's never used it.
Group of people who don't look like you and tell you to blame them for your problems. I just have one question. What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants and the gay and lesbian and transgender people.
Excuse me, but we've disparaged all immigrants? No, as far as I know, we've only disparaged illegal immigrants. And the only time anybody says anything negative about gays, lesbians, whatever, is when they bring it into the classrooms with our children or put it into children's programming, such as Netflix is doing now. Well, I'm so glad I canceled Netflix after that Cuties fiasco programming that they had on a few years ago.
Yeah. They all do it anymore.
Well, on their I'll do the video clips of it. Try to find the clips of it for later on in the week, if not tomorrow. But their strawberry shortcake program that they have on Netflix Children has just introduced a transsexual character, a transberry. So, yeah. And this is for programming for children 7 and under. So, I mean, this is when people like myself, start talking bad about the LGBTQAIP WXYZ crowd. When they're trying to influence children. But okay, let's go on, Governor.
The developmentally disabled, the women, and the minorities. Once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends.
basically what he's saying is conservatives hate everybody except straight white men. I'm surprised he hasn't said anything about Muslims here. But
After that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it.
yeah, all the Democrats stand and give him a standing ovation here.
Yeah.
I swore the following oath on Abraham Lincoln's Bible. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of governor according to the best of my ability. My oath is to the Constitution of our state and of our country. We don't have kings in America, and I don't intend to bend the knee to one.
Oh, gee, he's never insulted Republicans or the president. He's above that, or so he says.
I'm not speaking up in service to my ambitions, but in deference to my obligations. If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
Now, the reason why I have played this so long to this, almost 4.5 minutes, I unlike a lot of people, I don't like snippets because I don't like somebody saying that I took someone out of context. I like giving the full flavor of what they've said. Am I taking a stretch here when he's calling for people to grab buckets to put out the fire? While there's no literal fire, is he, so there would not be literally buckets. What would people be grabbing to put out the fire of Republicans being in control of the government?
Yep.
Being in the majority. I mean, I guess you could say nicely he's talking about the voting box at the absolute least offensive, I guess is a way to say it. Take up your buckets and make sure you go to the voting box to vote out Republicans. I guess that's the, if you want to be the most kind to what he's saying. But unfortunately, in this day and age, that's not the way that's going to be taken. So, Pritzker, you're a liar. You have used that type of language against Republicans.
Yeah, you don't get to be governor of Illinois without being corrupt. I grew up in that state. It's just a corrupt state.
And I grew up in Ohio. So, we were kind of familiar with what went on in Illinois and Indiana politics. Being relatively close. even though I was on the eastern side of the state, it's still what happened in Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, politics, Pennsylvania. It made the news in Ohio.
Right.
Much like here in Florida, what happens in Alabama and Georgia makes the news down here. So the wife took the week off, right? And she has decided that she's going to clean out the garage. So you guess what my job is going to be after the stream.
Yeah.
She's already told me she went and bought several storage racks, and she's already told me my first job today when I'm done with the stream is to go out and assemble these storage racks. And I'm like, oh dear. I had other things I wanted to do, but okay. All right. One more story I want to cover before we get to Pete. Okay. And again, this is Chicago. Now, for the past few days, ICE has been in Chicago. And there's been a lot of protests around the ICE facilities. I have said multiple times, I'm on record, go back and listen to my last streams. I've said this multiple times. While I do not think Trump has the authority to call in the National Guard to do in Chicago, Portland, or anywhere else in the country what he did in D.C. to bring in the guard and put them on the street corners to control day-to-day crime. I do honestly believe that he has the authority to bring in the National Guard to protect federal buildings and federal employees. And that includes ICE agents. And if he needs to bring in the National Guard to keep ICE agents safe from protesters, yowza. That was a direct strike on that microphone there.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Cat.
What kind of kitty?
Oh, my. Orange.
Oh, my God. You poor man. You got hit with an orange cat?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Orange cat with 27 toes.
Oh my, I feel so sorry for you. Orange cats are the worst cats. They are, I don't know what it is about orange cats, but they cause the most havoc. They are the least biteable cat. They cause death and destruction and laugh while they're doing it. Remember the old cat food commercial with Morris the cat? And Morris was an orange cat. And he was, what was it, Friskies or Meow Mix?
So. No, Meow Mix was the one with the song.
Right. Okay, so it had to be Friskies. Morris really did exclude that orange cat attitude. I'm the boss, and there's nothing you can do about it. The cat distribution system hated you. They felt you needed punished.
Yeah, I got Hubs, my orange one, and then Rue, my tortoiseshell.
Oh, now tortoiseshells are beautiful cats. I like tortoiseshells.
Yeah, and she's sweet angel.
Our Smokey is is a solid gray cat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not called Smokey because he's gray. He's called Smokey because he would be when he was a kitten and we first got him, he'd be sitting on the kitchen table while I was on the computer. Or he'd be laying on my shoulder or laying on my forearm. And then all of a sudden he'd just disappear. Look around, not be able to find him anywhere. I get back to the table and there he'd be. Sitting on the table, sitting on my keyboard usually. Like all cats. All cats love laying on your keyboard for some reason. But, it's like he was disappearing in a puff of smoke. So that's how he got the name Smokey. Hey, old guy, good morning. Tablets and phones. Oh, that's right. You're out on vacation. Yeah, Paul, you're right. I think Pritzker does get fatter every time he talks.
He's not Nadler yet, but he's working on it.
The old Nadler or the new Nadler? Oh, Lord. Okay, but anyway. The Chicago police are claiming, well, we'll go with how this stuff worked out. The ICE agents were being attacked in Chicago by the protesters. And what the hey? And they had requested Chicago police to come help them. This is the screen of one of the police operators. Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this as related. Okay. Callers is one of approximately 30 armed patrol agents, ICE, who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD. Okay,
Yeah.
read it from bottom up.
And that wasn't even people. It was like 10 vehicles too.
Right. So what we've got here is the actual audio recording. I don't know if you'd heard this or not.
90 beyond. Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks. Okay. Any kind of particular hairstyle, just younger male Hispanic on foot wearing all black? No hairstyle. Okay, 10-4. And 1 is for the hit and run. This guy fled from the scene at 37th Place in Kedzie. It all started at I-55 in Kedzie. Then they fled southbound at Kedzie, where that offending vehicle crashed. They ran the federal agent off the road. They fled on foot westbound 30.
Okay, did you hear that? They ran the federal agents off the road. That is a direct attack on the federal agents.
Mm-hmm.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
7th place from Kedzie. It was a male Hispanic younger wearing all black clothing. 90 man. Yeah, send the cars in that direction. Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks.
That's the chief of patrol talking there, telling her what to tell the patrols.
Have them stay put 2 or 3 blocks away, all right? Have them hold tight until I give you further direction, please. Okay, 10-4, and for the units responding to 39th Place in Kedzie per 999, if you guys can just, for the units responding to 39th Place in Kedzie, if you guys can start heading there as quick as you can, and then just hold tight for instructions with 999. 999. 999. So the chief of patrol, clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Okay. Per the chief of patrol, have everybody clear out. We are not responding. ICE agents who are being attacked, calling for help. And the cops are being ordered to withdraw, that they are not going to go over to help out the ICE agents who are being attacked by a mob.
Clear everybody up. We're not responding over there.
Radio check. And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're gonna clear out as soon as we can, Spot. We're like locked in over here, so we're gonna do the best we can to get out.
One of their cars, one of the Chicago cars are actually blocked in by the rioters, by the protesters. He can't leave, but he's being ordered to leave.
Out of here as soon as we can.
Absolute now. Chicago police addressed misinformation after ICE shooting, confirms federal agents leading the probe. Chicago police clarified they responded to assist public safety and traffic control during a Saturday incident involving ICE agents and an armed woman, but are not investigating the shooting. Okay. The department addressed misinformation, confirming officers separately respond to unrelated hit and run crashes involving federal agents later that day. Oh, we showed up. We went there to help. The audio tape right there. And you heard it in the dispatcher's voice. She was not happy about telling the cops to pull back and that they weren't responding. She was not happy about that.
And I bet you it goes all the way up to Pritzker.
I would not doubt it. I would not doubt it one bit that it doesn't go all the way up to Pritzker. That he and the mayor of Chicago have an understanding.
Well, the mayor of Chicago hates cops with a passion.
So, but anyway, yeah, I before I got covering Pete though, I wanted to cover those two things. All right, just to be the anger I have, I mean, Pritzker being a liar, a hypocritical liar, that's nothing new. I expect that. Honestly, I expect that of 99% of the politicians, regardless of their stripe. Sorry, LA. You can call me back on a regular phone. You can leave a message. Somebody from LA is calling me, and I know nobody who lives in LA or is from LA. So
yeah, I've been getting random Georgia calls lately.
Unfortunately, I've got business dealings with companies who are headquartered out of Georgia. So
yeah,
and they've got multiple phone numbers, so it's not just one phone number. So, I try to capture them as best I can every time one of them call and leave a message. Capture them and then say, put that to the list of phone calls that I do answer. Exactly. But I mean, like the hotel I work at, they've got 7 phone lines. So they've got 7 phone numbers. They just rotate. All right. Now, for the reason retro is, And the police union, the National Police Union, calls Chicago's refusal to help ICE agents shocking and a violation of duty. Presidents of the National Fraternal Order of Police and the Illinois State Fraternal Order of Police expressed shock at reports that Chicago's Chief of Patrol directed officers not to assist ICE agents when they were surrounded by protesters on Saturday. So even the FOP is mad at them.
Yeah, because that stuff goes both ways. You know, there may be the day they need the feds to come help them.
Yep. And for some reason here, all right, I'm so. Oh, you're kiddies.
I couldn't figure out how to put it in the side chat, so I just sent it to you there.
Yeah, your orange cat in that photo is looking like, okay, enough is enough. He's like, okay, yeah, I know that felt good for a minute, but okay. Where did it go, Retro?
I don't know. Monkey said he had problems with that picture too. I don't know.
Oh, here we go. No, I accidentally closed the Pete Hexeth tab.
Oh.
So
yeah, that's kind of important.
I went back to your email to find it. Okay, here we go. Now for the main flavor of the program.
To introduce our nation's Secretary of War, the Honorable Pete Hegseth.
Okay, we'll start right there.
Okay.
All right. Am I correct? Did I just hear someone call the room to attention?
Mm-hmm. You did indeed.
Okay, so I've heard rumors, so let me see.
Please take your seats.
Okay. I'd heard rumors that nobody actually went to attention.
I never actually saw a picture of the crowd to be able to say.
Well, no, you could tell right there when you told them to have their seats. You know, the heads went down.
Thank you.
Let me look here.
Okay, watch right down here at the very bottom.
Please take your seats.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I never caught that detail.
So they actually did sit down, which is a good thing, which meant that they were at attention. So that's lie one of the rumor mill that had flown out there, because people were saying that the guys that they refused to stand to attention. Whoops. All right. Now.
Well, Mr. Chairman, the Joint Chiefs, Generals, Admirals, Commanders, Officers, Senior Enlisted, NCOs, Enlisted, and every member of our American military, good morning. Good morning and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over. You see, the motto of my first platoon was those who long for peace must prepare for war. This is, of course, not a new idea. This crowd knows that. The origin dates to the 4th century Rome and has been repeated ever since, including by our first commander-in-chief, George Washington, the first leader of the War Department. It captures a simple yet profound truth. To ensure peace, we must prepare for war.
Okay, one couple of things here. Right off the bat, he gets out from behind the podium and comes out in front and talks to him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's more comfortable talking in front of people like this, where it's more like he's relating to them as individuals instead of standing on high, talking down to them.
See.
This is something as an NCO he learned.
Mm-hmm.
When I went through the NCO Academy, when I went through the Leadership Academy, when I went through the Airmen's classes, this is one of the things they stressed. You know, when you want to stand behind that podium like you're giving a speech, and when you want to come out in front and you want to be talking to the people as individuals. Good. So, I mean, he's off to a good start here, in my opinion.
Yeah. I wonder about the choice of the big flag behind him, because that just reminds me of Patton so much.
Okay, you're at that iconic scene in Patton. You're right. I wonder who designed that for him, because I don't think he designed this setting himself.
Right.
You know, somebody else did, and maybe they had that Patton motif in mind.
It's possible. I don't know. It was my first thought when seeing that big flag was George C. Scott standing in front of the flag.
Yeah. Oh God, I love that movie. I'm gonna have to watch that movie again this week. That is such a great movie.
Yeah.
Carl Malden, such a wonderful job. And the British actor that played Montgomery,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I mean, they really went all out and got some wonderful actors for that movie.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Yes, definitely.
From this moment forward, the only mission of the newly restored Department of War is this: warfighting, preparing for war and preparing to win, unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit.
I've always been gotten angry when it was the Army, and particularly the Army, was being used for rescue operations and humanitarian assistance. And that seemed to be the way that they wanted to portray the U.S. military as humanitarian assistance.
Mm-hmm.
That always bothered me.
Not because we want war. No one here wants war. But it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it.
Are you seeing this?
Oops.
I'm a little nervous because I have no clue what's about to happen, but this could either be
Our number one job, of course, is to be strong so that we can prevent war in the first place. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength.
Again, the very last people who want war are the people that have to go fight it.
Yep.
But they're the people who trained for it. The people who train for war are the ones who want war the least. I forget who that was. Cheney, when Trump said, "Let's see how she acts. Let's give her a gun and let her go out and have people shooting back at her."
Yeah, and everybody freaked out. Oh, he wants her shot.
Right. But, Cheney was pushing for war.
Mm-hmm. Just like her old man.
Yep.
And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive and dangerous. It ignores human nature and it ignores human history.
True.
Either you protect your people and your sovereignty, or you will be subservient to something or someone.
Either you protect your borders or you allow your country to be invaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's a truth as old as time. And since waging war is so costly in blood and treasure, we owe our republic a military that will win any war we choose or any war that is thrust upon us. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, FAFO.
You know where I'm really, Pete? Did you really have to do that? I mean, I understand the temptation to bring it down to the lowest level like that. You know, that's the catchphrase of the year, right? You know, it's been the catchphrase for a while, FAFO.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting worn out.
If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength.
Back to
Brought
Reagan.
to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right, we have the strongest, most powerful, most lethal, and most prepared military on the planet. That is true, full stop.
All right. Maybe I'm going to get into a little foreshadowing here. One of the things he should bring up if he didn't, I'm going to be disappointed, to be honest, is Reagan. And I was in the military. I was a young airman during Reagan's years. Reagan rebuilt the military.
Right.
And made the military a strong military again. Then Clinton and the Bushes and the Obamas come along. And denigrated and tore down and,
drove out all the old war horses and replaced them with politicians. That's
right.
what I saw during my time.
And then I'm thinking also BRAC, the base realignment and closing.
Mm-hmm.
That, and just another example, we have to rename all these bases because they hurt people's feelings under Biden. And, absolutely the last thing anybody in the military should be concerned about is having their feelings hurt. If the base's name hurts your feelings, you shouldn't be in the military.
Yep.
If you're that sensitive.
Nobody can touch us. It's not even close. This is true largely because of the historic investments that he made in his first term, and we will continue in this term. But it's also true because of the leaders in this room and the incredible troops that you all lead. But the world, and as the chairman mentioned, our enemies get a vote. You feel it, I feel it. This is a moment of urgency, mounting urgency. Enemies gather, threats grow. There is no time for games. We must be prepared. If we're going to prevent and avoid war, we must prepare now. We are the strength part of peace through strength. And either we're ready to win or we are not.
CVS doesn't want you to know you can get 100 milligram generic Viagra.
Okay, Pete. He's giving more credit right now than what is deserved. He's pumping a little bit of smoke there. We're almost back to pre-Reagan days with the strength of the military, if not back to pre-Reagan days.
You see, this urgent moment, of course, requires more troops, more munitions, more drones, more Patriots, more submarines, more B-21 bombers. It requires more innovation, more AI in everything and ahead of the curve, more cyber effects, more counter UAS, more space, more speed. America is the strongest, but we need to get stronger and quickly. The time is now, and the cause is urgent. The moment requires restoring and refocusing our defense industrial base, our shipbuilding industry, and onshoring all critical components. It requires, as President Trump has done, getting our allies and partners to step up and share the burden. America cannot do everything. The free world requires allies with real hard power, real military leadership, and real military capabilities. The War Department is tackling and prioritizing all of these things. And I'll be giving a speech next month that'll showcase the speed, innovation, and generational acquisition reforms we are undertaking urgently. Likewise.
The sad thing about it is no matter what they start today, the next president of the United States can kill it.
Mm-hmm. And it'll take a decade to get done.
What should have been done in a decade will take a half a century.
But my big thing there was he sure sounds like he's expecting a big, big war. I know the speech is about preparedness, but he really sounds like he's expecting something to hit the fan.
Well, I mean, I would not be surprised with the Islamic Revolution. I mean, I would not be surprised to see a worldwide Islamic Revolution.
Or China.
I'm less concerned about China doing a physical war than I am about an Islamic one. China is, I think, is more of an economic war. Hey, Digi, good morning. Yeah, you're right. Hope don't do much these days. You know, hopes and prayers work and nice, but sometimes, you know, you got to have the ammunition and the armament to back that up.
The nature of the threats we face in our hemisphere and in deterring China is another speech for another day, coming soon. This speech today, as I drink my coffee, this speech today is about people, and it's about culture. The topic today is about the nature of ourselves. Because no plan, no program, no reform, no formation will ultimately succeed unless we have the right people and the right culture at the War Department. If I've learned one core lesson in my 8 months in this job, it's that personnel is policy. Personnel is policy. The best way to take care of troops is to give them good leaders committed to the warfighting culture of the department. Not perfect leaders, good leaders. Competent, qualified, professional, agile, aggressive, innovative, risk-taking, apolitical, faithful to their oath and to the Constitution. Eugene Sledge, in his World War II memoir, wrote, quote, "War is brutish, inglorious, and a terrible waste. Combat leaves an indelible mark on those who are forced to endure it. The only redeeming factors are my comrades' incredible bravery and their devotion to each other." In combat, there are thousands of variables, as I learned in Iraq and Afghanistan, and as so many of you did in so many more places. Leaders can only control about 3 of them. You control how well you're trained, mostly how well you're equipped, and the last variable is how well you lead. After that, you're on your own. Our warfighters are entitled to be led by the best and most capable leaders. That is who we need you all to be. Even then, in combat, even if you do everything right, you may still lose people because the enemy always gets a vote. We have a sacred duty to ensure that our warriors are led by the most capable and qualified combat leaders. This is one thing you and I can control, and we owe it to the force to deliver it. For too long, we have simply not done that.
Amen.
The military has been forced by fool.
All right, I'm going to go back to 1978 when I first reported to the flight line as a young one-striper.
Okay.
And I was working on F-15s out at Luke Air Force Base, a training base. We trained pilots, F-4s and F-15s. And we had what we called CAN birds, C-A-N-N, short for cannibalization.
Mm-hmm.
And that means exactly what it says. We would steal parts off of aircraft, take a jet down for 14 days. The maximum it could be down is 14 days. It had to fly every 14 days. We would take a jet down, and it would be nothing to see it sitting there on jacks, because the wheels, the landing struts have been removed from it to put on other aircraft, wings removed to put on other aircraft, wire harnesses removed to be put on aircraft. I told the story once before where we'd taken cardboard and made a giant propeller out of cardboard, and safety wired it to the bulkhead of the front of the jet where the radar antenna was supposed to be, because the radar antenna had been removed and the radome had been removed to be put on other aircraft. So the front of the aircraft just ended. So somebody put a giant cardboard propeller on it, took a picture of it, and the picture floated around. Somehow or another, it made it over to Langley, or so the story goes. And it made some people in Langley mad. The next thing you knew, we had a rapid influx of parts about 2 months later. And we were able to get most of the jets that had been taken down like that repaired.
Mm-hmm.
To get them flying. We had jets that hadn't flown in months. They're supposed to fly every 2 weeks, but we had jets that hadn't flown in months because we had removed so many parts off of them, because we couldn't get parts. We were at the very bottom of the totem pole for parts, a training base. And you know, that makes sense. A training base, not having an active commission, an active warfighting commission, would be a little bit lower on the list for parts. But you can't train pilots if you don't have aircraft to fly. And if you don't have trained pilots, you don't have pilots to put into the aircraft that can fly. So, it's sort of that vicious circle. What comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
So, and Spanky, calm down. So anyway, and I don't think our military today is in that condition yet. But there's many in the administration and in Congress that wouldn't mind seeing the military in that condition.
Yep.
Foolish and reckless politicians to focus on the wrong things. In many ways, this speech is about fixing decades of decay. Some of it obvious, some of it hidden. Or as the chairman has put it, we are clearing out the debris, removing the distractions, clearing the way for leaders to be leaders. You might say we're ending the war on warriors. I heard someone wrote a book about that. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Based on their race, based on gender quotas, based on historic so-called firsts. We've pretended that combat arms and non-combat arms are the same thing. We've weeded out so-called toxic leaders under the guise of double-blind psychology assessments, promoting risk-averse, go-along-to-get-along conformists instead.
Oh.
You name it, the department did it. Foolish and reckless political leaders set the wrong.
That was going on. Okay, I retired in 98, and that was going on back in 98.
Mm-hmm.
That was under Clinton.
Yep.
And that kind of nonsense was going on back under Clinton. So these promotions based upon race, gender, and who stroked whose back better is nothing new. And, like I said, I've said that before. I saw people lose their commands. I saw commanders, majors and lieutenant colonels lose their jobs because they said something in the officers club when they had one or too many drinks.
Yep.
And said something derogatory about Bill Clinton or Hillary or somebody up the food chain that was, or they said something that flew in the face of what was going on.
Yeah. The whole club system was virtually dead by the time I got out because you couldn't say anything in there.
Right. Was the NCO club the same way by the time you got out?
Yeah, it was dead. Nobody went to it.
Yeah. You couldn't afford to because you didn't know who was ass kissing who.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I quit going to the club.
Yep.
Because I got called on the carpet for a few things I said. So, but then I've always had a big mouth.
Compass heading. And we lost our way. We became the woke department, but not anymore. Right now, I'm looking out at a sea of Americans who made a choice when they were young men and young women to do something most Americans will not, to serve something greater than yourselves, to fight for God and country, for freedom and the Constitution. You made a choice to serve when others did not, and I commend you. You are truly the best of America. But this does not mean, and this goes for all of us, that our path to this auditorium on this day was a straight line, or that the conditions of the formations we lead are where we want them to be. You love your country, and we love this uniform, which is why we must do better. We just have to be honest. We have to say with our mouths what we see with our eyes, to just tell it like it is in plain English, to point out the obvious things right in front of us. That's what leaders must do. We cannot go another day without directly addressing the plank in our own eye, without addressing the problems in our own commands and in our own formations.
Say goodbye to your reading glasses, computer glasses, and even your sunglasses. Introducing the last pair of glasses you'll ever need.
This administration has done a great deal from day one to remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department, to rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris.
We can only wish.
And we'll say again, we are done with that shit. I've made it my mission to.
We can only wish that it was that easy to get rid of it.
It's going to be hard.
It is so embedded into the system.
And it's embedded in those people right in front of him.
Yes.
That is the primary opponent he has right now.
You know, people, mostly people on the left or people with no military service, sat there after this was done saying, what a waste of time. All this money spent to bring all these people to Quantico. It could have been done by a Zoom call, could have been done by emails, could have been done by text messages, could have been done, by written memoranda and sent out an order form. Almost all of that, to a minor degree, I think is true. However, as somebody who served in the military, I will tell you, when we got the passed down verbal orders through our section chiefs, through our captain, through our chief, through our our E6, E7 section chief, or through our E5, E6 shift supervisor, the orders, the memoranda, the directions got watered down a lot.
Yeah.
But when we went to the commander's call, which is how I refer to this,
Mm-hmm.
and you heard it directly from the 06's mouth, and he was sitting there saying, this is what you will do, and this is my directions to you. There was no later on saying, well, I didn't understand exactly what you meant, or that's not the way I heard it. There was no excuse for not doing what the man said he wanted you to do, what the man or woman said they wanted done. There was no excuse. And that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
This is a commander's call of Pete Hegseth for every person directly underneath him. The problem is they're still going to go back to their home units. And they're going to issue directives that when you first look at them going, okay, yeah, this is going to fall in line with what Pete said. But then there's going to be that wink and a nod there with it saying, yeah, on paperwork, we're going to do this, but in reality, we're not changing nothing. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen here with these people, with too many of these people sitting in this auditorium.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Based on when I got out, there were so many politicians. It's hard to repair that. The old war horses are gone. They're just gone.
They were almost gone when I retired. They were a dying breed.
Mm-hmm.
Let's face it. When did you get out?
07.
Okay. So that was, let's see, I retired in 98. So that was almost a decade. That was 9 years after I left. And in that time, half the people, the people who were head sheds when you got out were only halfway through their careers when I got out.
Yeah.
So the pollution from my time, and that's the only way to look at it, is the pollution of the morale and the expectations and such of my time that I complained about then and still complain about now was what your leadership was. You had the people who were polluted by my leadership being your leadership, polluting those under them, which is the people who are in charge now, or trained those who are in charge now. So this is going to be, I mean, this is not something that can be fixed in 3 years. No matter how hard Trump and Hegseth tried, this is not an issue that can be fixed in 3 years.
Not unless Vance gets in for 8. And then maybe you'll really see some effect.
Yeah, at best we'll see the effects of what starts today.
Mm-hmm.
At best we'll see the effect by time in 12 years.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get rid of the people who are in charge now. And those that they polluted. And when I say polluted, guys, people get promoted at the whims of the commanders. I was told the only reason why I never made it to E7 or E8. The reason why I didn't make it to E8 was because I was a thorn in the side of too many people. Because I knew regulations. I knew what people were supposed to be doing. And I called them out I called them out on their bullshit. Like I said, I had a big mouth. It was respectful. But when I had no problem sitting there telling a general that he was wrong on what the capabilities of an aircraft was, of an aircraft system, and that the system was operating perfectly within normal operations when he thought it was supposed to be doing something else. And I'm telling this to the general's face. And the general looks over to the colonel who's with him, who says, "You just got out of the Air Force's version of Top Gun. Who's right?" And that lieutenant colonel's got to stand there, or sit there rather, look at me, look at the general, look back at me and say, "Sir, he's right. I've just made an enemy."
Mm-hmm.
Because that colonel got put on the spot of having to tell the general that he was wrong. Now, the general looked at me and said, "You got the balls of a gorilla," and reached across and shook my hand. But that still made an enemy of that colonel. But that's a problem I've always had. Anyway, but this is what I'm saying. You're not going to get people in positions of authority in the military that buck the trend. And this trend here of DEI, what they're trying to correct, is too embedded into the system right now. It's going to take years to get rid of it. And I'm talking a decade.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing in the slightest.
Uproot the obvious distractions that made us less capable and less lethal. That said, the War Department requires the next step. Underneath the woke garbage is a deeper problem, and a more important problem that we are fixing and fixing fast. Common sense is back at the White House, so making the necessary changes is actually pretty straightforward. President Trump expects it. And the litmus test for these changes is pretty simple. Would I want my eldest son, who is 15 years old, eventually joining the types of formations that we are currently wielding? If in any way the answer to that is no, or even yes, but, then we're doing something wrong. Because my son is no more important than any other American citizen who dons the cloth of our nation. He is no more important than your son. All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join.
I'm glad to hear that.
As the golden rule test. Jesus said, do unto others that's what you would have done unto yourself. It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no.
What is the book you couldn't keep to yourself?
I didn't know who would even care about my book recs on TikTok.
Chaotic science energy.
Turns out it helped an entire community of people fall back in love with reading. You gotta read this. Read it!
Have you guys seen this bearskin hoodie ad? It's been all over my feed, so I had to get
Come
one to test
on.
it out. This fleece is thick.
Thank you. Book talk is horrible on TikTok, man. Don't go there.
I don't go to TikTok in general.
I spend time there because it's actually getting to be a better place to do research.
Or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance,
Go full screen.
The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men, or troops who are not fully proficient on their assigned weapons, platform, or task, or under a leader who was the first, but not the best. Standards must be uniform, gender neutral, and high.
All right. I'm sure you had this same thing when you were in. We got a new tech sergeant in. Female. She came over from the 106s when the 106s were finally phased out. Paul, so far I'm loving it, but as you can tell, I've got a lot of criticism here because I think he's being too enthusiastic. But then maybe, he's having to be that way with these people because he knows it's being recorded and everybody in the country is going to watch it.
Yeah, I was really surprised this wasn't a private speech. To be perfectly honest.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the impact of having the cameras on makes it a bit different.
He definitely had to watch what he said a little bit closer.
Mm-hmm.
Had to be more positive across the board.
Right.
There's a lot. He could not be, as he says, he wants these guys to be 100% honest with themselves and what they're saying. Because he knew that every word he said is being dissected by people like you and me and people who don't like him.
Yeah.
So not only people like us who do like him, or at least, are willing to give him a try. And, given his own military background and what he has said publicly. But anyway, this young lady, she comes in as an E6 and she's talking to us every Monday morning about there was a local strip club that on weekends they had male strippers coming in for the women. And when she came in on Monday mornings, that's all she'd talk about was the male strippers. Okay, well, she made E8. And she moved into the supervisor's office. She got herself a desk inside the supervisor's office. No, she went from E6 to E7. I'm sorry. And got moved into the supervisor's office. She no longer had to work on the flight line because she's now in E7.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing she did when she got in there was one of the other E7s in the office there had a family photo on his desk of his family at the beach. And she went to HR and filed an official complaint because his wife was in a two-piece swimsuit. Not a bikini as we know bikinis today. I'm talking bikinis as they were back in the 90s. They covered up a lot of skin, not like they do today.
Yeah.
But she filed an official complaint, and he not only had to remove that picture, he got written up by the base commander. Yeah. Because that photograph of his wife with his 3 children on his desk, with all of his kids in swimsuits and his wife in a two-piece swimsuit, offended her. You want to talk about the hypocrisy that we all saw that. None of us liked the stories of the male strippers that she saw whenever she came in, because we never talked about the female strippers we saw.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't talk about that. But it was like, well, we just let her spout her shit and let her go on her way. We just, none of us really liked her, but that was beside the point. But when she did that to that other E7, she became one of the most hated people in the unit. And about 6 months later, she asked for a transfer to another unit. Because nobody listened to her, nobody would do what the hell she said. It was like, you're too hypocritical for us to follow. But again, this is a problem that what he's talking about here. This is what happens when you. I'm going to be honest. Your flight line. There are certain jobs in the military that you've got to be a special sort of woman to be able to handle it. And I'm not just talking physically. I'm talking the way men act in it because of the type of the job that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like the difference between an office job and a blue collar laborer job, a welder job, a blacksmith. I mean, it was tools and language both go flying in some career fields. And flight line maintenance is one of the career fields where I'm not saying all the women I worked with were horrible people to work with. Some of them were fantastic. I mean, the dick and balls got drawn by them, or they draw tits on the log books where we drew dicks.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't find a log book that didn't have either a pair of tits drawn on it or a log or a dick drawn on it somewhere. But that was just what back in the day, that's what went on in the flight line. Today, I don't know. It's gotten so pansy-assed out there.
Mm-hmm.
If not, they're not standards. They're just suggestions. Suggestions that get our sons and daughters killed. When it comes to combat arms units, and there are many different stripes across our joint force, the era of politically correct, overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now. At every level, either you can meet the standard, either you can do the job, either you are disciplined, fit, and trained, or you are out. And that's why today, at my direction, and this is the first of 10 Department of War directives that are arriving at your commands as we speak and in your inbox. Today, at my direction, each service will ensure that every requirement for every combat MOS, for every designated combat arms position, returns to the highest male standard only. Because this job is life or death.
I love that.
I thought you would.
That was the first thing he said here, that all I can say is I love it, and I love it for the reason that he just said. You can't expect a 98-pound woman to lug a 250-pound man across the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to be able to do it.
You might have a unicorn, but it's a unicorn.
Now, I know this captain. I know he talks. Well, it's not that I know, but I'm assuming because I read the directives that came down. I read, at least I didn't read the whole 50-page directives. I only read like 10 or 15 of them. I tell you that. Have you read the whole 50 pages?
No, I didn't read anything.
Man, I tell you, the one thing I'd always wondered about, though, even when I was active duty, okay, why there aren't, say, 3 different physical tests, physical fitness exams, testing. All right, you got your combat guys. Mm-hmm. They need to be fit to the utmost to do their job. All right, then you had people like me that worked on the flight line. I didn't need to be able to run 5 miles. Just be honest, I didn't need to run 5 miles. Yeah. I did need to be able to lift 100 pounds over my head. I did need to be able to carry a 50-pound toolbox and a 50-pound toolbox in one hand and a 35 to 40-pound aircraft component in the other hand, with a ladder, a 6-foot step ladder over my shoulder. That I did need to do. Then you have the office worker, who the heaviest thing they need to pick up is a piece of paper and a pencil or a computer.
I'm guilty. I was in Space Command.
Okay. Oh, you were? You got
Yeah,
into Space Command?
yeah, I was in Space Command.
Oh, wow. I tried to get into it when they first created it, and I got denied. My commander wouldn't let me go.
I put it down as my last choice of the whole list because I just came in electronics,
Right.
and it was critical loss career field at the time. So I was going into it whether I liked it or not.
Oh, man. We're going to have to talk offline. We're going to have to talk offline one day. But, I could understand having 3 different physical fitness, for what your job is or what you'll be expected to do at the worst. At my worst, I'd be expected to carry parts for a mile. So I had to be physically fit enough to carry aircraft components, a toolbox, a ladder, and a part. I would be expected to carry that. Okay. An office worker at most expect to run 100 yards and pick up a computer, a laptop or something. They don't need to be. Now, I'm not saying being fat, I expect everybody to meet fit a height, weight, proportional height and weight. I don't want to see a tub of lard wearing a uniform regardless what their job is.
Did you see the picture of that Navy person?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, how are they even in?
Well, they were officers. That woman was an officer. I weigh over 300 pounds still, and she'd make 3 of me.
She's so gelatinous, it was hard to tell she's even a woman.
God, that was disgusting. Up there wearing them whites like that. And that did nothing to hide the rolls.
And that came out right after the speech, too. That's when it hit
I
Twitter.
came out before the speech.
Oh, did it? It really got Twitter play after.
Yeah. But, I don't like seeing fat people in military uniform. Like I don't like seeing fat people in police uniform or fat people in fire department or paramedic uniforms. There's some people you don't want to see fat in because you don't expect them to be able to do their job. They're going to keel over one way or another. And being in the military, regardless of your job, is one of them. But I don't expect an office worker to be out there doing 500 push-ups, sit-ups, and a 5-mile run.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I absolutely know what you're saying. It's back when I was in, that's the sort of thing I was saying we should have.
Have your physical fitness test be proportional to your job.
Mm.
But
and if you want a different job that requires higher, then you better make the standard.
Exactly. Exactly.
Standards must be met. And not just met, at every level, we should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. It's common sense and core to who we are and what we do. It should be in our DNA. Today, at my direction, we are also adding a combat field test for combat arms units that must be executable in any environment at any time and with combat equipment. These tests, they'll look familiar. They'll resemble the Army Expert Physical Fitness Assessment or the Marine Corps Combat Fitness Test. I'm also directing that warfighters in combat jobs execute their service fitness test at a gender-neutral, age-normed male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular hard PT, so can every member of our joint force.
And I disagree with that. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back with my job on the flight line. I would have to show up to work. I mean, there are many days.
Frankly, it's tiring to look.
I mean, I would show up many days at 7. I mean, I worked more night shifts, second shifts than I did first shifts. So I'd show up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it would be 7 o'clock the next morning when I got off work. Instead of getting off work at 11, I'd be working all night long just to get jets up ready to fly by when they needed to fly in the morning. Now, do you expect me? Yeah, because one of his rules here is that everybody has to do PT every day in all military branches. I just got done working a 16-hour shift and you still want me to go out and do PT? And I got a write-up because I worked 5 16-hour shifts in 1 week. And I was written up by the commander. My commander, not the base commander. But I was called on the carpet for that. I wasn't allowed to work over 12 hours for almost 6 months without him being directly called. That was his standing order. That if I was to work more than a 12-hour shift, he had to be called and give permission first. But even so, you go in there and you pull a 3-to-3 shift, a 7-to-7 shift, a 6-to-6 shift, and then go out and do PT, or go and do PT and then pull a 12-hour shift on the flight line. That doesn't make good sense. This is where I do disagree with him about having to do PT by every person doing PT every day being required. But I seriously doubt the Air Force has got the manning to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly on flight line maintenance. I'd really be curious how many 12 and 14-hour shifts are being worked out there on most of these units. Office weenies, yeah, they got, that's when I got moved in the office because of my hernias. Yeah, I wasn't physically able to do PT every day because I had 14 hernias, but I had the time to do PT because I was in an office job. Office job weenies have got time to do PT. Army people who are combat MOS have got time to do PT, to do it into their thing. But when you have, I can't talk for EOD. I imagine fire department would have time to do PT.
Mm-hmm.
Sky cops would have time to do PT, maybe. But how about your guys's, with Space Force? How was your guys's time to work in daily PT?
Arguably, it could have been done, but we were also short manned all the time, and that runs into the same problems you have, is you don't want people unrested doing the job, because that's when you make mistakes in my job. You got to be locked on that scope and know what's going on everywhere and picking up every little thing. And if you're running on no sleep, you don't do that.
Or physically exhausted from
Yeah.
doing PT that day.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can just shut down operations once a week to go out and spend the day doing PT, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, so you were a scope dope?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, cool beans. I dated a woman who was a scope dope. She loved her job, except she had the palest skin ever for never. She couldn't handle normal room daylight or room light because
Yep,
the room she was in was dark.
I know how that is. I do. You just get used to it. Working in the
Yeah,
gloom so you can see the scope really well.
yeah. That's what she said. She go, y'all. She she let she wouldn't have lights on, or if she did have a light on, she had a cloth or something over to dim it down,
Mhm.
which wasn't too bad sometimes, but other times, man, it's like, hey, I'd like to be able to at least read what's in this magazine you handed me to read.
uh, see, now you're going to get me off my Space Force stuff. when when I started in it, you were expected to know your job flat out to the letter. You didn't need a book. We had checklists, but they were vague guidelines. They didn't specify every little thing you did. And then they merged us with the missileers, and they could not function unless
What does a scope dope have to do with the missile person? They're not even related.
the Air
Tangentially.
Force the Air Force was trying to keep an iron grip on us because we were trying to become our own branch. So they merged us with the missiles to make us more valuable to the Air Force. Kind of too valuable to lose.
Well, they ended up losing you anyway, didn't they?
Eventually, when Trump came around, but they were talking about that in '92.
Right.
So that tells you how long it took. But yeah, missileers cannot. They can't go to the bathroom without a checklist telling them how to do everything.
I one of my supervisors was a missile man, and he got transferred from missiles to F-15s. And he was a E7, so he had no clue. He other than seeing pictures of F-15s, he had no idea what to do with an F-15.
Mm.
And that part, when he got into the unit, he just said, "Listen, I know how a section should run from the paperwork aspect. From aircraft end, you guys tell me."
Oh, you got a good one then.
Yeah. Oh, he was a great guy to work for.
Yeah, yeah.
He protected us with his life or with his stripes. He protected us as well as he could with his stripes. But he was fantastic to work for. But yeah, see now, like I was on F-15s when I first went in, as F-15s and F-111s were F-15s and F-111s are co-joined. And then they co-joined us with the F4s. Okay, that's no problem, And then they brought in the F-16s on us later on. And it's like, by that time the F4s were gone and the F-111s were all but gone. So they brought in the F1, the F-16s to us, and it was like, now wait a minute, these aircraft fly totally differently.
Mm.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, yeah, the Air Force did have a tendency to try to broaden your areas, and it wasn't too bad until you had to go WAPS test.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because you're getting tested on stuff that you never did, but you were expected to know it. So
look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to hear that one.
Oh my God. I need to hear that again.
If you live in a Florida zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen.
Neutral, age-normed, male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Oh my God. Not just in the halls of the Pentagon, but walking the flight line or in flight suits trying to struggle to get inside of a cockpit of a fighter aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when they can't climb a standard boarding ladder, you got to bring out a B4 stand for them to not B4. They couldn't climb a B4 either. But when you have to bring out a damn stand for them, with a step stand for them to climb to get up into the aircraft, and it takes people on both sides sitting on the intakes to help squeeze them down into the cockpit, you know they're too damn fat to get into the jet.
Mm-hmm.
You wonder how in the hell they had a flight suit to fit them.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to hear that one. That was too good.
General Creech. Our unit patch Miss Fury. His wife did not like Miss Fury because it was a topless female Fury sitting on a cloud with a skull in one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she did not like that. So she approved the design of the new patch, which was a griffin sitting on a cloud.
I hated military spouses that think they're in the military.
So for years, we had to wear this damn griffin patch, even though we all had Miss Fury somewhere. Then they approved the new Miss Fury, but instead of being topless, they put a top on her. Which, okay, you know.
Yeah.
Modern sensibilities. You can't have a topless female sitting on your unit patch and expect women to wear it.
Mm.
That was what they said. So, but most of us had a topless Fury patch anyway. Now, them underground patch makers, you know, they're patch makers want to make the patches. They don't care as long as they get paid.
Yep.
So, but yeah, officers' wives have way too much power over the units.
Yep.
Mainly because they managed to bitch their husbands into making the changes they want to see made.
And leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standard.
Did he really say chairborne?
Yep.
Neutral, age-normed, male standard scored above 70%. It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the secretary, it's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new
chairborne ranger. Oh my God. I can't believe he actually said that. The only thing is coming from him, it doesn't sound like an insult.
Nope.
You know, it's like people, you know, some people say, "Oh yeah, you were in the chair force," and I laugh about it. Other people say it, and I want to deck them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's some people it's one unit person teasing another one, and other people that actually mean it as a derogatory way.
Yeah.
You know,
which they better be in a role that makes me respect the hell out of them.
Yeah,
like Marines, I think they're crazy as hell, but I respect the hell out of them for what they do.
Well, I just turn around and offer them a box of crayons.
Didn't say they were the smartest in the world.
Give them the red crayons, and they're happy.
Yeah, but I respect them because they're doing the dangerous, dirty work.
Yeah. Did you see somebody actually came out with edible crayons for the Marines?
No.
It's a candy that looks like Crayola crayons, but it's an actual candy, and the red tastes like cherry, blue's like blueberries, lemon, lime. Oh yeah, your uncle taught you that chair force when you was little, yeah. For a lot of people in the Air Force, the chair force fits. It's just the only time I saw a chair was it was at the beginning and end of the shift most times. Beginning of the shift when I was getting told what to do, and end of shift when I was filling out the paperwork for what I did.
Private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test.
Amen.
And as
Amen.
the chairman said, yes, there is no PT test. But today, at my direction, every member of the Joint Force at every rank is required to take a PT test twice a year, as well as meet height and weight requirements twice a year, every year of service. Also today, at my direction, every warrior across our Joint Force is required to do PT every duty day. Should be common sense. I mean, most units do that already, but we're codifying it. And we're not talking like hot yoga.
See, and that's where my problem is with this.
Right. And I understand your argument, but it's a manning issue, really, from what you're saying to me.
It's not when you don't know how broke jets are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you man for your average day of maintenance. And then the days that you don't have much maintenance, hey, yeah, great. But days where you have a lot of maintenance, it's like suck it up, Buttercup. We're working 12 and 14-hour shifts until we get everything fixed.
Mm. And there needs to be exceptions put into the rules for that, without a doubt.
And like I said, there was that one particular week went on where I was working, I was working 16 hours a day for a whole week. I'd come home, get 5 or 6 hours of sleep, get up, put on a clean uniform, go back into work, come home, and the wife would look at my uniform and throw it in the wash for me. And then that way, when I got up, I'd just throw it in the dryer to have a clean uniform to put on.
Mm.
So stretching. Real hard PT. There's either as a unit or as an individual. At every level, from the Joint Chiefs to everyone in this room to the youngest private, leaders set the standard. And so many of you do this already. Active, guard, and reserve. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards.
Okay. Pseudo-folliculitis Barbie.
Yeah, that's what they always push, but nowadays it's more than that.
Well, what I'm saying though, I knew guys with pseudo-folliculitis Barbie. Okay. And what that is for anybody that's listening and does not know, that is shaving bumps. Black men get them. Not all black men, but most. You see a black man with like a bunch of little bumps, especially underneath the chin going down to the Adam's apple in that area. That's what that is, where that curly hair has grown back under the skin and gotten infected. And the only solution to that is to let the hair grow out. A 1/4 inch beard is the only solution for that. Growing a beard at least a 1/4 inch in, where the hairs are at least a 1/4 inch in length.
See, I think he's referring more to all these people that are using religious exemptions.
Well, not only that, but there are units that have, I mean, I've seen, there's a E8 out there running around in the Army. He makes a lot of videos. That's got a full-blown shaggy beard. He looks like crap when he's in uniform. The beard is totally unkempt. It's not shaped. He doesn't comb it out. Doesn't look like he combs it out. Doesn't, you know, he may wash it, dry it, and that's about it by the looks of it. And it looks like it's about 2 inches thick. It is a nasty looking beard. But he's one of the ones out there fighting against this. But it's people like him that are causing it.
Mm-hmm.
And even those with the religious exemptions, the only ones with a true religious exemption to the beard should be the Sikhs.
Yeah, like I saw one going through looking at reactions to this. A guy claimed he was pagan or put in as pagan and had to have a long beard.
Norse pagans, pagans do not have to have a beard. I know too many Norse pagans.
There's no codified religion that tells you have to have a beard in that belief system.
Now, the only one is the Sikhs, and the Sikhs wear turban instead of a standard cover. Okay, and they actually carry a dagger with them 24/7. They're required as part of the religion to carry a dagger. So they have got a military dagger that fits their religious requirements. All right. So I can understand Sikhs, but that's it. Even Jews are not, have never gotten a religious exemption except for rabbis, the chaplains.
Right.
They're the only ones that have gotten the religious exemption to wear a beard. And I am going off the rules as they were up to 1998 when I retired. Because after that, I quit giving a damn until now. Because my first trip out to the air base, out to Tyndall, drove 2 hours to go out to get a new ID card. Closest Air Force base to get my new retiree card.
Mm-hmm.
I walked in and I saw these kids with these haircuts. My God, it was like, what the hell? The side of their heads were shaved and it looked like a damn Brussels sprout. I'm serious. They looked like a bunch of Brussels sprouts walking around. That's the only way I can describe it. And wearing tennis shoes. Wearing tennis shoes and BDUs. And women with pigtails. Or their hair braided going down to the middle of their back. Or the great big fros, or what they call them, baby hairs, the black women with the baby hairs coming down, curling off their foreheads.
Yeah. See, he says it several times in here. 90 standards.
Okay, I haven't gotten to.
And so I'm thinking that's where his mind is at for most of these things.
Right.
Is back to when he was serving.
Now, I have heard the women screaming about not being able to wear colored fingernails anymore. Fingernail polish is gone. You know, the multicolor fingernail polish or the press-on claws.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back to real fingernail length. No more press-on nails. God, that makes me. I tell you, if he just gets everybody back to the '90s regs for dress and appearance, I'd be happy. Get rid of the you know, for women no more than a 3-inch bulk, men no more than 1.5 inches bulk. You know, women, yeah, you want your long hair, yeah, you can put it up in a bun in the back of your head, but it can't be any more than 3 inches, and it can't touch the collar of your blouse. I'd love to see it go back to that. And men the same way. You know, sideburns can't exceed. Now I admit, this was mine. Sideburns could not exceed the lowest opening of your ear.
Yep.
Mine rode that line. I had a barber cut my sideburns off halfway up my ear. And I got up out of the chair when she did that. And I said, thank you much for the free haircut. Because I told you not to mess with my sideburns. She goes, well, all I did is shorten them up. Yeah, you did. You shortened them up too much. I told you not to mess with them. And the head barber looked at her and said, he told you, I heard him. But then that's back when the haircuts in the barber shop were only $3.50. So
yeah.
Now I'm going to go get a haircut this week, and it's going to cost me $30.
Yep. I think it's 40, the one I go to. It's ridiculous. It's like,
that's why I go every 3 months now for a haircut instead of every week or every 2 weeks.
Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. So you have to address the small stuff.
Amen.
This is on duty in the field and in the rear. If you want a beard, you can join Special Forces. If not, then shave. We don't have a military full of Nordic pagans. But unfortunately, we have had leaders who either refuse to call BS and enforce standards, or leaders who felt like they were not allowed to enforce standards. Both are unacceptable. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos.
I love that line.
Rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not meet the male level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new job or a new profession. I sincerely appreciate the proactive efforts the secretaries have already taken in some of those areas, service secretaries. And these directives are intended to simply accelerate those efforts.
If you eat butter daily, this is what happens.
I love it.
The reason
I'm loving what I'm hearing so far, for the most part.
On the topic of standards, allow me a few words to talk about toxic leaders. Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership those who long for peace. Apply the War Department Golden Rule, the 1990 test. NCOs who make light, those don't take necessary risks or make impact of female troops. Our female officer authorities. 1990s seems to be as good a place. Second,
There it was.
today at our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God.
The man gets a standing ovation for that. When you are promoting people who do not deserve it, simply because of what they look like, because you got to fill a quota. You got to prove you're not racist, so you have to promote a black person or an Indian or a Hispanic. You got to prove you're not a sexist by promoting a woman or a gay person. You got to prove you're not a homophobe. And one of the biggest mistakes they've ever made was starting Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Yeah.
That was the biggest mistake the military ever got into. And thank you, Bill Clinton, very much to hell for that.
But at least Don't Ask, Don't Tell was don't tell. Now everybody advertises whatever they want to be.
When they came out, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, my first comment to that was that they better open up a third set of barracks. Because I damn sure do not want a gay roommate.
Mm-hmm.
And the women I knew did not want a lesbian roommate. It was either that or else all roommates, all showers, all facilities became unisex. You could walk into work, you arrived at a new base, went to the dormitories, and you could be a male with a female roommate. You could be a female and walk in and find out you got a male roommate. And the showers, hey, boobs and dicks bouncing around in the same shower at the same time.
By the time I got out, everybody had private rooms in the Air Force.
So now we were still when I got to, of course, Luke Air Force Base, I had 3 roommates.
Mm.
And then they basically converted closets into rooms when I was there. And
it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy skies. You can expect more of
oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's
Alexa,
okay.
Alexa, be quiet.
Ooh, I hate. That's why I don't have Alexa or Siri in my house. I won't have them.
I don't do stuff like this very often, so it usually doesn't cause problems. I like it telling me sunrise and sunset and the weather and stuff like that. It's just convenient.
Yeah, well, I got all that crap on my watch. I've got sunrise, sunset on my watch.
Mm.
I've got weather on my watch. I just look at it and I can see all that. But anyway, when they converted the closets into rooms, then I got one of them because of the shift that I worked.
Mm-hmm.
Both my roommates worked. I had one roommate that worked swing shift, one roommate that worked day shift, and I worked mids. So you can have a days and swings, but you can't have days and mids or days, swings, and mids all in the same room. Because then, you got too many people awake while the other one's trying to sleep.
Yep. I know how it is. Trust me.
So we drew straws. I won, and I got the closet room by myself. It was nice. It was big enough for a locker and a bed. And guess what? I didn't care because I was the only person in it.
Mm.
The room itself was literally 15 by 10.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. My most worked schedule in my time in was 2 days, 2 swings, 2 mids, 3 off.
Now, I won't be honest. My favorite shift I had when I was in the service is when I worked transient flight or transient flight, correctional custody.
Mm.
It was 12-hour shifts, 6 to 6, 3 days, 3 days off, 3 swings. Well, 3 days, 3 mids with 3 days off in between each one.
Mm.
So you work, but there are 3 12s. So you work 3 12s, 3 off, 3 12s, 3 off, rotating shifts.
Yeah. That's just rough in the long term.
I loved it. I worked that for a year. It was great duty. As far as the shift hours went, working with people being kicked out of the service or people in for correctional custody, that sucked. Because every one of them came in with attitudes.
Yep.
So, for those that don't understand correctional custody, it's a 6 weeks of basically basic training. These are people that had gotten in trouble with their units, and letters of counseling and letters of reprimand and such didn't work. So the commander sent them to us, and it was basically 6 weeks of basic training all over again. We called it rebluing. Transition flight were those being kicked out of the service. They'd been relieved by their units, and they came and lived with us for until they got escorted by the SPs and their old commander to the gate, where they would take their military ID card from them and then escort them across to public property, and they would no longer be allowed on military installation after that. So T-flight people were actually worse because they definitely, they knew they were getting out, and there was nothing you could do that, as far as they're concerned, nothing that could be done to them because they were already being discharged. They were just going through the motions.
As Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence, the definition of toxic has been turned upside down, and we're correcting that. That's why today, at my direction, we're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing, to empower leaders to enforce standards without fear of retribution or second guessing. Of course, you can't do like nasty bullying and hazing. We're talking about words like bullying and hazing and toxic. They've been weaponized and bastardized inside our formations.
Hazing, when you got a new guy in the unit, you had to find out what that guy was made of.
Mm-hmm.
When you got a new guy or gal in, you had to find out what they were made of, what kind of person were they be. And when a person left, you could, at least off the flight line during my time period, you could tell how well a person was liked by how nasty they were when they left. I got coffee grounds and trash cans and chicken bones and hydraulic fluid. The only liquid I didn't have poured across me was piss. I had every other liquid you could think of off the flight line dumped on me. Gatorade dumped on me. That stuff is nasty. But that's why I wore my oldest, nastiest uniform to work that day, because I was expecting it. I was warned what was going to happen. We would take people to chairs and just grease and engine grease into their hair. We were a little nicer to the women. because we wouldn't mess with their hair too much. Because it's easier to get it out of a short man's hair than a long woman's hair. It's easier to get all that crap out of. So we didn't mess with their hair too much. Well, I'm starting to talk like I was back then instead of like I am now. But the nastier you got when you left, the more liked you were by the unit. If you walked out your last day of the unit and you walked out with a clean uniform, you knew you were not going to be missed. Nobody was going to talk about you lovingly in a respectful tone after you were gone.
Yeah.
If your name was brought up, they were probably spitting on the floor right after they said your name. So, how about there again, Space Force? You guys, what about you guys when you got new people in or people leaving?
Oh, we didn't have all that terribly much. The big one was tacking on stripes, of course.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure you had that too.
My arm was black and blue when I made staff sergeant, and then when I made tech. I mean, I couldn't lift my arms over my head for a week.
Mm-hmm. And they pretty much got rid of that by the time I got out. And it's
yeah, I mean, they come up and bunch up your shirt real tight against your arm, then draw back and punch the shit out of you the first day you put them stripes on.
But we were more passive. We used to do things like in Greenland, we'd have wheels up parties. Means when a particularly hated person left the base,
the day after they left,
as soon as the wheels were up on the plane, everybody go to the club and party because they weren't coming back.
we had a commander, a captain, unit commander. The day after she left, we had a party. The chief found out about it and he chewed us out the next day. But we had a kegger.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean a kegger. Multiple kegs of German beer went down that day. They were all pony kegs, but still multiple pony kegs went down that day. And when there's only about 50 of you sitting there drinking them, that's a lot of beer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we got a good talking to the next day, but man, we hated that captain. So that's toxic leadership when it's so bad that you throw a party the day after they leave because they're gone. That's toxic people.
Absolutely.
Cutting commanders and NCOs. No more. Setting, achieving, and maintaining high standards is what you all do. And if that makes me toxic, then so be it. Second, today in our direction, we're ensuring that every service, every unit, every schoolhouse, and every form of professional military education conduct an immediate review of their standards. Now, we've done this in many places already, but today it goes across the entire Department of War. Any place where tried and true physical standards were altered, especially since 2015 when combat arms standards were changed to ensure females could qualify, must be returned to their original standard.
Good.
Other standards have been manipulated to hit racial quotas as well, which is just as unacceptable. This too must end. Merit only. The president talks about it all the time, merit-based. Here are two basic frameworks I urge you to pursue in this process. Standards I call, my staff's heard all about them, the 1990 test and the E6 test.
This new scam is spreading rapidly in 2025 and emptying bank accounts in seconds.
You own a credit card?
The 1990s test is simple. What were the military standards in 1990? And if they have changed, tell me why. Was it a necessary change based on the evolving landscape of combat? Or was the change due to a softening, weakening, or gender-based pursuit of other priorities? 1990s seems to be as good a place to start as any. And the E6 test. Ask yourself, does what you're doing make the leadership, accountability, and lethality efforts of an E6, or frankly, an O3, does it make it easier or more complicated? Does the
Why does okay? I know he's not going to say it because it doesn't exist. What does the E4 mafia feel about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how does the E4 mafia go about it? Yes, the E4 mafia does not exist, does it?
change empower staff sergeants, petty officers, and tech sergeants to get back to basics? The answer should be a resounding yes. The E6 test or O3 test clarifies a lot, and it clarifies quickly. Because war does not care if you're a man or a woman. Neither does the enemy. Nor does the weight of your rucksack, the size of an artillery round, or the body weight of a casualty on the battlefield who must be carried. This, and I want to be very clear about this, this is not about preventing women from serving. We very much value the impact of female troops. Our female officers and NCOs are the absolute best in the world. But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. It will also mean that weak men won't qualify because we're not playing games. This is combat. This is life or death. As we all know, this is you versus an enemy hell-bent on killing you. To be an effective, lethal fighting force, you must trust that the warrior alongside you in battle is capable, truly physically capable of doing what is necessary under fire. You know, this is the only standard you would want for your kids and for your grandkids.
I love it.
Apply
I'm
the
loving
War
what he's
Department
saying
golden
right
rule,
now.
The 1990 test and the E6 test, and it's really hard to go wrong. Third, we are attacking and ending the walking on eggshells and zero defect command culture. A risk-averse culture means officers execute not to lose instead of to win. A risk-averse culture means NCOs are not empowered to enforce standards. Commanders and NCOs don't take necessary risks or make tough adjustments for fear of rocking the boat or making mistakes. A blemish-free record is what peacetime leaders covet the most.
True.
Which is the worst of all incentives. We as senior leaders need to end the poisonous culture of risk aversion and empower our NCOs at all levels to enforce standards. Truth be told, for the most part, we don't need new standards. We just need to reestablish a culture where enforcing standards is possible. And that's why today at my direction, I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO processes. I call it the no more.
I'm not familiar with the MO or EMO. Those must be Army and Marine, Navy.
Probably.
The only one I'm familiar with there is the IG processes because I've lived it in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
Walking on eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating you. We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat.
Yes.
We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department.
Oh, okay. Now I know
No
what he's
more
talking
frivolous
about.
complaints. No more anonymous complaints. No more repeat complainants. No more smearing reputations. No more endless waiting. No more legal limbo. No more sidetracking careers.
Okay. You remember the dreaded day, your worst day, your military year was that day you had to go to CBPO and sit down through an all-day training session on equal opportunity and treatment, EEOT. You remember that day?
Yeah.
Once a year training you had to go through?
Mm-hmm.
Usually followed either immediately before or immediately afterwards by a piss test. Because you either got drunk the night before or got high the day after from having to sit through that damn class. But the thing I remember, I retired in 1998.
Right.
You went in 1990, right?
91.
91 is when you went in. Okay. And prior to then the reason why 1998, I know this for a fact for 1998 because it was the absolute last one I had to attend before I retired, was the first time in that EEOT training that they actually had as part of the training women and blacks being in the wrong in the way they treated white people or men, women being sexual harassers and black people being racist. Up until 1998 in the EEOT training.
And some of those videos that they show were just gold.
Oh God, they were absolutely. I mean,
and you had to try not to laugh through the whole thing.
Think of your high school driver's ed class. The videos in your high school driver's ed class. That is the way these EEOT training films were. They were, and that poorly acted too. My wife just walked in the door and she looks like somebody just threw a bucket of water on her. She's been out working in her garden and in the garage, like I said. So, but yeah, those training films are absolutely horrible. But I mean, in '98 was the first time, and we actually commented to the instructor, and the instructor was a female instructor, and she was not happy that she had to stand there and say, yes, women can act in a sexist fashion. She was not happy having to stand up there and say that.
Hey, Roman.
Oh, Raman, hey, how you doing? So I'm assuming then when you went through EOT, you got the same films then that I got?
Probably.
Okay.
Those are pretty universal.
Yeah. But did they show the ones with women acting in a sexist way or black people acting in a racist way?
Yeah.
Okay. Those came about in 1998. Between 97 to 98. It was a 90. So, I mean, because it was my 98's training was the only time I saw it. It was not there in my 97 training. And my training was always in February, March, or April, the first part of the year. And since I retired, my retirement date was 1 July, and I had my 90 days terminal. I had to go through that. I could not believe they made me go through EEOT just before retiring, but they did. It was mandatory. I was active duty, so it was mandatory training for that year.
Yep, have to fill the box.
Yep. Got to mark that square. But I'm loving this. I am absolutely loving this here. And going back to 1990s rules and regs were not that hard to live up to.
No. No.
They were not that hard to live up to.
They're worlds better than what they were when I got out. So,
yeah, 19, especially compared to what now, if he said go back to the 1970s, I'd be like, but then I mean, there wasn't a big, it wasn't that big of a difference. He's just not familiar with the 1970 regs. That's all. He's familiar with the 1990s.
exactly. He's going with what he knows. He's like,
Right.
bring it back.
But then the 1990 regs were not that hard to live up to, at least not in the Air Force.
No more walking on eggshells. Of course, being a racist has been illegal in our formation since 1948. The same goes for sexual harassment. Both are wrong and illegal. Those kinds of infractions will be ruthlessly enforced.
Thank you.
But telling someone to shave or get a haircut or to get in shape or to fix their uniform or to show up on time or to work hard, that's exactly the kind of discrimination we want. We are not civilians.
He's saying about their showing up to work on time. When I went through the NCO Academy, this is the NCO Academy in the Air Force was preparing you to become E7, E8. All right, it's for E6s who were eligible to become E7s. And it was a 2-month-long academy. You actually had to move into, even if you lived in the area, you still had to move into the dormitories. You couldn't live at home, even if you lived in the area, because they brought in people from other bases. So everybody had to live in the dorms. One of the questions I got asked was, what would you do? And this is by an instructor. What would you do if you had somebody come into work every day, they were 5 minutes late? I said, well, I'd do my threes. Your threes. Say, yep. Verbal counseling 3 times, written counseling 3 times. Okay, just letters of counseling 3 times. Letters of rep 3 times, then I'd send them up to the commander.
Mm-hmm.
They'd get 9 chances to straighten up. And they say, okay, well, what's the time period between the threes from start to finish? A year. You mean if they were late 9 times in a year? I said, if they were chronically late, short of car accidents or anything else, yes. And they said, well, this isn't the brown shoe days anymore. Why aren't you asking them why don't, what kind of alarm clock they have or this or that, what do they have young children that's keeping them awake at night? I said, because none of that matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely none of that matters to me. It's not my job to babysit that. And this here's one of the things that pissed them off. I used one of my dad's phrases. I said, they're free, white, and over 21. They should know how to get to work on time. They did not like that. Even though, I didn't mean it. I'm, hey, you're an adult. It's your job. It's your job to get to work on time. And I was sent before the commandant of the school with, do I stay or do I get removed from the class? And he, this isn't the brown shoe days anymore. We're supposed to look out for the person and find out what's going on in their personal lives. And I told him, their personal life means nothing to me. I don't give a shit about their personal life. If they got problems in their personal life, that's the chaplain, the first sergeant, and the hospital to take care of their personal lives.
Yep.
My job is to get aircraft fixed. My job is to make certain I got people there to fix these aircraft. That is the only thing I concern myself about. And I mean, I got to complete the program, but I didn't get kicked out, but they kept a good eye on me. They didn't ask me any more questions like that. After that, they're cautious in what they asked me because they didn't want my opinion. But that was my true opinion.
Yep.
You know, I don't give a shit what's going on in your life. Because none of that matters to me. What matters to me and my job as an NCO is to get these aircraft up in the air safely to where that pilot comes down in one piece and alive. So that I'm loving what he's saying here, though.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely loving what he's saying.
You are not civilians. You are set apart for a distinct purpose. So we, as a department, need to stop acting and thinking like civilians and get back to basics and put the power back in the hands of commanders and NCOs. Commanders and NCOs who make life and death decisions. Commanders and NCOs who enforce standards and ensure readiness. Commanders and NCOs who in this War Department have to look in the mirror and have to pass the golden rule test. My kids, your kids, America's sons and daughters.
I love the way
urge
he's
you all
putting
here
this.
today, and those watching, take this guidance and run with it.
I absolutely love the way he's putting it.
Yeah.
The core of this speech is the 10 directives we're announcing today. They were written for you, for Army leadership, for Navy leadership, for Marine Corps leadership, for Air Force leadership, Space Force leadership. These directives are designed to take the monkey off your back and put you, the leadership, back in the driver's seat. Move out with urgency because we have your back. I have your back. And
It's taken EEOC, it's taken social actions, it's taken all them people out of the driver's seat.
Yep.
So a threat by an airman, even when I was in, to go to social actions was enough to make an NCO piss themselves.
Because it was going to be a big ass mess, no matter how it turned out.
That's right. You were going to end up with paperwork one way or another as an NCO. And every airman knew that. Was that the same way with you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Every airman knew that all they had to do is threaten to go to social actions. And that they were going to get their way one way or another. And you could not do anything to them. They were untouchable from that moment on.
Yep.
Because then it was, well, retribution.
Mm-hmm.
They took retributive actions against me for threatening to, or for actually coming over here to social actions. I'm loving this. I wish Dar would have been here for this because I'd love to hear it from the Navy perspective.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
the commander-in-chief has your back. And when we give you this guidance, we know mistakes will be made. It's the nature of leadership. But you should.
There are going to be people, NCOs, commanders, who are going to go too far.
Yep.
It's going to happen because when you let that dog off the leash, you take that leash away or you extend that leash, they're going to find out what the limits are. Somebody's going to push to see what the limits are. They're going to think Sergeant Carter, or they're going to think, damn it, what was that one Marine movie?
Oh, Few Good Men.
No,
No.
Private Gomer.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
It's Arlie Ermy.
Right.
What was that called? I cannot think right now.
I hate this. Well, I'm glad to see it's not just me.
Help us out, chat. Earn your keep.
Yeah. But anyway, but somebody's going, I mean, there's always going to be that.
Full Metal Jacket.
Thank you. There's going to be somebody who's going to do something stupid and take it too far.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. But all that's going to do is show where that outer leash limit is, which would be a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it for the people that suffer for that idiot who did go too far. But for everybody else, it's a good thing because that does show the limit. Unfortunately, the way they've been acting, they never showed the limit going the other direction. There has been no limit going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this will get rid of those red cards that I've heard about through basic and tech school. And where they flash the red card and people got to leave them alone. They get 10, 20 minutes.
Oh, God, I've never even heard of that one yet. Every time I hear something about the new basic, I just cringe.
Yeah, is that a jelly donut? Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it. I just couldn't say it.
Yeah, I could see every scene in it, but
earnest mistakes for your entire career. And that's why today, at my direction, we're making changes to the retention of adverse information on personnel records that will allow leaders with forgivable, earnest, or minor infractions to not be encumbered by those infractions in perpetuity. People make honest mistakes, and our mistakes should not define an entire career. Otherwise, we only try not to make mistakes, and that's not the business we're in. We need risk takers and aggressive leaders and a culture that supports you. Fourth, at the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing: merit. Colorblind, gender-neutral, merit-based. The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined. We've already done a lot in this area, but more changes are coming soon. We'll promote top-performing officers and NCOs faster and get rid of poor performers more quickly. Evaluations, education, and field exercises will become real evaluations, not box checks, for every one of us at every level. These same reforms happened before World War II as well. General George Marshall and Secretary of War Henry Stimson did the same thing. And we won a world war because of it. As it happens, when he started the job, Chairman Kane gave me a frame and a photo to hang in my office. A matching frame and photo hangs in his. It's a photo of Marshall and Stimson preparing for World War II. Those two leaders famously kept the door open between their offices for the entirety of the war. They worked together, civilian and uniform, every single day. Chairman Kane and I do the same. There is no daylight between us. Our doors are always open. Our job together is to ensure our military is led by the very best, ready to answer the nation's call. Fifth.
Are you still wearing enough layers to insulate Alaska?
You need the new. As you have seen, and the media has obsessed over, I have fired a number of senior officers since taking over. The previous chairman, other members of the Joint Chiefs, combatant commanders, and other commanders. The rationale for me has been straightforward. It's nearly impossible to change a culture with the same people who helped create or even benefited from that culture, even if that culture was created by a previous president and previous secretary. My approach has been simple. When in doubt, assess the situation, follow your gut, and if it's the best for the military, make a change. We all serve at the pleasure of the president every single day. But in many ways, it's not their fault. It's not your fault. As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership.
Isn't that what you and I were saying earlier?
Yep.
That these people were polluted by their leadership?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's that old saying, as the twig is bent, so grows the tree.
Yep.
When you're taught from day one of your military service or shown through how things actually happen, maybe not written by the regs, but how things actually work, then that's the way you act. That's what you come to believe is the right thing. Because your supervisors, your leadership wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't the right thing to do. Even if you know it's wrong, it's the right thing because anything else is wrong. If you can wrap your mind around what I just said. It's the when in Rome, do as the Romans do type thing. Well, when your leadership is sitting there telling you that you have to promote people because of their race, promote people because of their gender, you have to have a certain number of people in positions to make it look so the optics are good. And that's what you do. And then and you do it enough and it becomes secondhand. You've been polluted. And it's not your fault. Like he just said.
Yep.
It's what you were trained to do.
We weeded out the war dogs and put in the politicians, and this is the result.
I wouldn't say politicians. I'd say put in the nannies. Put in the I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. You fill in your own square of what you know I wouldn't say.
An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI plus statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders. Our job, my job, has been to determine which leaders simply did what they must to answer the prerogatives of civilian leadership, and which leaders are truly invested in the woke department and therefore incapable of embracing the War Department and executing new lawful orders. That's it.
The more I listen to him, the more I understand why he changed the name to the War Department.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I understand the reasoning now for the name, because in order to change the atmosphere, the culture that is there, you've got to start. A good place to start is with the name. Now I'm understanding it a little bit better, or actually a lot better. And while before I was like, I don't care either way. Now I'm understanding and I'm supporting it more and more. Or rather, I'm just going to say I fully support it because he's talking about changing the entire culture of the old DOD.
Mm-hmm.
God bless this man. I just hope he's as so successful that it's very difficult for it to be changed back in the future.
Right.
It's that simple. So for the past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our officer corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also expeditious.
If you live in a Florida zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years,
the new compass heading is clear. Out with the Shirellis, the Mackenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that.
I'm not so much a fan of Stockdale as I was Schwarzkopf, though.
Mm-hmm.
But then I knew Schwarzkopf before he got his star. And Patton, of course, is just a legend.
Yeah. But he had tons of controversy in his time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He that's one thing the movie sort of underplayed was his controversies. They didn't play it up. They didn't show everything in that movie as far as his controversial positions and sayings. He was not a nice guy to work for. But bringing back Schwarzkopf won the Gulf War for us.
Absolutely.
That's all I can say about that.
More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain. Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy. But I look out at this group and I see great Americans. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Ding!
Thank you.
Oh! Oh! I just sat up straight in my chair. From being nicely relaxed to I'm sitting up straight. I did not expect him to say that.
And Trump pretty much said the same thing to him. He's like, oh, you're all free to walk out of the room. Of course, you're going to lose your rank in your future, but feel free to leave. Trump told him.
It's a true statement.
Absolutely.
But I did not expect him to say that out loud, at least not in this setting. I figured that would be said in a more private setting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Neil, I read how Lee Army got that job.
For your service. But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense, constitutional leader that you joined the military to be. We need you locked in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that, I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power. We have entire departments across the government dedicated to diplomatic, informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain and every scenario. No more distractions.
Wait a minute, did he just say GoFos?
Sounded like it.
We need you locked in on the M, not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that, I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power. We have entire departments across the government dedicated to diplomatic, informational, and economic lines of effort. We do the M. Nobody else does. And our GoFos need to master it in every domain.
Yep. Absolutely.
Oh, I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but you can definitely tell he was enlisted.
Yeah, and the dime thing must be an officer thing. I've never heard
Yeah.
of it.
Or something new.
That could be too.
In every scenario. No more distractions, no more political ideologies, no more debris. Now, of course, we're going to disagree at times. We would not be Americans if we didn't. Being a leader in a large organization like ours means having frank conversations.
You just lost video.
And differences of opinion. You will win some arguments and you will lose some
Up
arguments.
there it is.
But when civilian leaders issue lawful orders, we execute. We are professionals in the profession of arms. Our entire constitutional system is predicated upon this understanding. Now, it seems like a small thing, but it's not. This includes as well the behavior of our troops online. To that end, I want to thank and recognize the services for their new proactive social media policies.
I need to look up, see what these new proactive social media policies are, because one thing I absolutely hate.
I knew you'd be interested.
All right. Okay, I will go back to when I was active duty and I first got online. And remember, I first got online in 1984.
Mm-hmm.
I went down to legal office to talk to them and say, what can or can't I do? The first thing they say is, one, when you are online, you do not tell them you're active duty. You do not tell anybody where you work, what base you're at. If you're going to be out there talking about politics or anything else, you do not identify yourself in any way, shape, or form being military. Because anything you say that you've said, okay, I'm in the Air Force and this, then that could be construed as an official statement by somebody in the military representing the Air Force. And if you plan on doing anything in camera, you will not have anything in line of sight or on your body that identifies you as being in the military. You will not wear a uniform or anything else. And all that stuff was something good.
Absolutely.
I thought that was all good, good policy. Now you have these people doing get dressed with me's, literally women doing get dressed with me. From the moment they get out of the shower to the moment they walk out the door in uniform. And they're on camera. Or they're in their car making videos. And we're saying rather derogatory things about their leadership, about Trump and about Pete Hegseth and about You know, the new rules coming down.
Yeah, I'd not only crack down on that, I'd ban TikTok for military use.
I wouldn't ban it. I just tell them, if I ever see you in uniform or identifying yourself as being a military member, you will receive an Article 15.
Yeah.
You know, you can't stop them from being on the computer and doing TikTok or YouTube or anything else. But what you can say is, if you've in any way, shape, or form identify yourself being in the military, or bring any form of disrespect upon you, yourself, the military, your commanders, your leadership in any way, shape, or form, you will receive an Article 15.
Yep.
And when a half a dozen or so people get Article 15s, they lose stripes, or they get kicked out of the service, or they do 30 days in a brig.
Put an end to this stuff real quick.
You know, the word will get out there. But I am so disgusted with seeing people now. But there's some people that are in uniform and they're out there doing it, and they're doing it the right way. But I would still, unless the person has been specifically authorized by their unit commander or by the wing commander to be out there speaking while in uniform, I would say no. Nobody can be in uniform while on camera on TikToks, YouTubes, or anything else.
Yeah.
That would be the standing rule. I'm gonna have to look up and see what the new rules are here dealing with military and social media.
Use them. Anonymous, online, or keyboard complaining is not worthy of a warrior. It's cowardice masquerading as conscience. Anonymous, unit-level social media pages that trash commanders, demoralize troops, and undermine unit cohesion must not be tolerated.
Developing tonight, a high-stakes showdown between a man and the boss who fired him. Kelly Martin reporting.
Again, O3s, E6s. Sixth, we must train and we must maintain. Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war.
Okay, you can definitely tell he was a ground pounder.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The whole thing, you can tell that.
No, well, because again, your job, my job. Okay, I fixed aircraft for a living. You were scope dope for a living. Okay.
Yep.
Our job was maintaining equipment. And now I don't know about you, but I would have periodic, and I mean every couple of years, go through courses on updates to the radar package, or updates to the navigational system, or updates to the different components on the aircraft. It'd be a classroom setting.
We, as a minimum, would have monthly.
Okay.
Monthly training, monthly scenarios that we ran.
Cool beans.
And that was everybody in the unit too. It was top to bottom.
Okay, all right, so you're talking about actual exercises.
Yeah, we do actual exercises.
Okay, now see, we did exercises like that on a quarterly basis. But then doing that with aircraft is a lot different than doing it in office.
Yeah.
Because now you're involving half the base.
Yeah.
Not just your unit, but you're involving fuels and age equipment, and
we'd get peripherally attached to those kind of trainings too.
Right.
we were never really massively involved with them.
But we did that kind of crap on a quarterly basis, which that's in the wintertime or coolish weather time, and where I could get away with wearing my field jacket. I had a Sega Game Gear. You remember those?
Yep.
That fit perfectly in my BDU jacket. And the one that would be in one pocket, and I'd have another pocket full of batteries.
I was just thinking that. Because that thing ate batteries like nothing.
I had a pocket full of batteries because that thing took 6 batteries. It was one of the first color handheld game units. And I had a Batman game, I had a martial arts game, and I can't remember the other game because I only played the Batman.
Probably
and
Sonic.
No. God, no. I hate Sonic.
I usually came with it.
If it came with it, I never played it. It never got out of the package because I bought the Batman game with it when I bought it. And what was that martial arts game?
Shinobi?
No, this is one of the first ones that Dragon something. Oh man,
I'm not sure.
The two brothers having to fight.
Oh, Double Dragon.
Double Dragon, yeah, there was a side scroller.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that was the game I played, but it was a side scroller game, so it was fun. But anyway, that was for spending hours on the launch truck or hours sitting somewhere with nothing to do until you got your 45 minutes to an hour of pure adrenaline flow trying to launching because the sirens are going off and you're having to get things done. Thank God though I never had to do that with gas mask on.
Ooh, that'd be ugly.
Well, now see, when I was in Germany and we did our alerts there, we would be in the hardened shelters. There'd be 5 of us in each hardened shelter. And when I came into work every day, I mean, come from the barracks, right? Nice thing about being in Germany, if you could read German, go downtown, buy a local newspaper because they always announced the week in advance when there's going to be an exercise on base. They wouldn't tell us, they tell the local Germans.
Yeah.
That way they wouldn't freak out from hearing all the sirens going off all the time. Okay. So my roommates would figure it out because I'd be out buying brochin and Danish ham and Swiss cheese and mustard and stock in the refrigerator because I hated eating MR or sea rats. We didn't have MREs yet. We were still eating sea rats. And so I would be making 5 or 6 sandwiches because I knew this was going to be 12 to 14 hours I'd be sitting out there. So I'd make 5 or 6 sandwiches using the brochin and the Danish ham and such. And then they'd turn around, they'd make a run to the commissary to buy stuff to eat. Hey, the 3 of us, when we showed up to work, we were well fed. While everybody else is sitting there eating cold ass sea rats, we were eating, decent sandwiches. And then I had a little coffee maker. I took that into work with me with a gallon of water, and plug it in. And I was the only person. I could not believe I was the only person taking a coffee pot into work with me. I took it in, and the people that came in after us for the second 12 hours, I left the coffee pot there, and they started bringing their own water and their own coffee. in their own coffee filters. Everybody knew what tab V I was in because we were the only ones drinking coffee.
Liquid gold.
Hey, I mean, you did what you had to do to get through the day.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you were smart about it, you know, you survived it and had fun doing it.
That's why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute.
Ding!
We've already ended the most egregious.
Whoa.
It took you a second.
Any moment that we are not training on our mission or maintaining our equipment is a moment we are less prepared for preventing or winning the next war. That is why today, at my direction, we are drastically reducing the ridiculous amount of mandatory training that individuals and units must execute.
What kind of training is he talking about?
I'm assuming all these computer-based trainings that we had to do, we had tons of that stuff.
I mean, is he talking about the EEOC training and the I mean, like we had to do our quarterly fire extinguisher training, especially when we were, you know, we still had the halon fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
And those things would kill you if you didn't use them right.
Yeah.
I don't even think they use halon anymore. I think they banned it because they were talking about banning it when I got off the flight line. Then
First radar I was signed at had halon.
Okay. Then, you know, so what kind of training is he talking about? You know, please be love the EEOC and all that other crap. Which, if they're getting rid of the programs, you know, that training is going to go away.
Ended the most egregious. Now we're giving you back real time. Less PowerPoint briefings and fewer online courses, more time in the motor pool and more time on the range.
Wonderful. Okay. He answered the question. He got rid of that computer training that you were talking about.
Yeah. And there was a ton of it.
Our job is to make sure you have the money, equipment, weapons, and parts to train and maintain, and then you take it from there. You all know this.
I'll bet the unit RAs are going to be we're happy as hell to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, the unit RAs, okay, in the Air Force, it's unit resource advisor. And they're the ones that have to pay for everything the unit uses. All components, all parts, all uniform items that are issued through individual equipment through IE. If you go to, you send, like we sent a guy to the Navy brig for 90 days. And we had to pay the Navy for our guy being in their brig. So we had to do that paperwork. We pay we're the ones that set payments for the hotels or whatever when people go TDY, wherever they're staying.
Yeah.
So if we're staying on an Army base, we had to pay the Army base for the billeting of our people. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff the unit RAs, you know, you're sitting there bouncing money from account to account to pay for everything going on. So a lot of our unit RAs heard that and they were real happy to have the money to do things.
Because it's common sense. The tougher and the higher the standards in our units, the higher the retention rates in those units.
True.
Warriors want to be challenged. Troops want to be tested. When you don't train and you don't maintain, you demoralize. And that's when our best people decide to take their talents to the civilian world.
True.
The leaders who created the woke department have already driven out too many hard chargers. We reverse that trend right now. There is no world in which high-intensity war exists without pain, agony, and human tragedy. We are in a dangerous line of work. You are in a dangerous line of work. We may lose good people. But let no warrior cry out from the grave, if only I had been properly trained. We will not lose warfighters because we failed to train or equip them or resource them. Shame on us if we do. Train like your warriors' lives depend on it. Because
I love hearing that. I love hearing
to
that.
that point, basic training is being restored to what it should be. Scary, tough, and disciplined. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits, ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits. This does not mean they can be reckless or violate the law, but they can use tried and true methods to motivate new recruits.
Oh my God, the look on his face when he said that.
Motivate.
Oh God, every NCO in the military just went, I mean, they just sat up straight and smiled. Every NCO worth their stripes just sat up and smiled at that.
Yep.
Oh my God. We all know what he meant by motivate.
Oh, yeah.
Angry cops will have a look at those rules. Oh my God. That was, I mean, and the way his delivery, I have to give Pete this. Here's another thing I want to bring up. Not once has he looked at a set of notes here.
Nope.
He has spoken from his heart. Every word. Was this prepared speech? Yes.
Yeah.
He knew what he was going to say when he went in there.
Yeah. He said it well, and he said it with charisma. He could have droned on like some officers I've seen.
Yes. Or NCOs.
True. Fair.
Okay. But no, this, on top of being an entertaining speech, because it has been entertaining, a lot of truth has been said here today.
Yeah.
A lot of truth was said. And if he can bring about 50% of what he's said he's going to try to do, that would be a vast improvement in our military.
Yep.
I don't agree with everything he said. And I've pointed out where I've disagreed.
Yep.
Okay, because he's bringing to all the branches an Army mindset. And that doesn't work with the Air Force. And it doesn't work with the Navy. Marines, yes. The Army and the Marines, yes, because you're ground pounder units. But it does not work with the Navy. I mean, Navy on shipboard. Okay. Does not work that well with the Navy on shipboard. Or subduty.
Yeah. That's where I was saying there's going to have to be adjustments or exceptions made depending on duties. But in principle, I can agree with what he's saying in there.
Yeah, in principle, I find nothing wrong with what he said. It's just some of the specifics that he's talked about.
Right.
No, I mean, I fully agree with him. The day of the fat NCO, the fat CO is over. The day of the fat airman should be over.
Yep.
I don't care if you spend your 8 hours a day sitting on your ass typing in a computer. You shouldn't be sitting there eating potato chips that whole time you're doing it. And then going over to the rib shack and munch down on half a rack of ribs and coming back and eating more chips or Danishes. No, eating Danishes in the morning and chips in the afternoon after eating a rack of ribs for lunch.
To make them the warriors they need to be. Back to basics at basic as well. Of course, and you know this, basic training is not where mission readiness should end. The nature of the evolving threat environment demands that everyone in every job must be ready to join the fight if needed. A core credo of the Marine Corps is every Marine a rifleman. It means that everyone, regardless of MOS, is proficient enough to engage an enemy threat at sea, in the air, or in a so-called rear area. We need to ensure that every member of our uniformed military maintains baseline proficiency in basic combat skills.
Now there,
especially because the next war, like the last,
is going to be a problem for the Air Force, because the Air Force hates giving weapon training to people that don't specifically need weapon training.
True. Now, some of us who exhibited a affinity for using weapons, all right, i.e. outscoring the marksman who was supposed to be training you, you know, you got additional weapons training. They liked you going up to the range and shooting. There were several of us, all of us farm boys, okay, that we would get, they'd send us up every 3 to 4, 5 months to do some more shooting.
I maybe had 5 weapon strings the entire time I was in.
Right.
And that's including basic training.
Right. Well, I knew people like that. I knew people, they spent more time going through gas mask training than weapons training.
I never even had gas mask training.
Mm.
I got the inserts for it for my glasses, but nope.
Now, gas mask training. I was one of the ones that the stuff didn't bother. But the guy next to me, one though, heads up, don't shave the morning you go gas mask training. Don't shave that morning. If you got to shave because you a hairy son of a gun, shave the night before. But I shaved the afternoon before, gave my skin a chance to take care of everything. And when I went in the next morning and I went through, because you got to sit there with that time with your mask off and that shit. And that stuff will get into, if you nicked your skin with a razor, I don't care who you are, that's going to hurt like hell.
Even if you don't, you're stripping the oils when you shave.
Yeah. So, you don't shower or shave the morning of the gas mask training. You do your triple S's the night before. But yeah, there's that gives you your best chance of surviving it.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, some people just come out there retching and puking. So one guy, one reminds me, one guy puked in his mask.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah. But what when you don't listen to the voices of experience, shit like that happens.
Yeah.
will likely not have a rear area.
If you live in a Florida zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years.
Finally, as President Trump rightly pointed out when he changed the department name, the United States has not won a major theater war since the name was changed to the Department of Defense in 1947. One conflict stands out in stark contrast: the Gulf War. Why? Well, there's a number of reasons, but it was a limited mission with overwhelming force and a clear end state. But why did we execute and win the Gulf War the way we did in 1991? There's two overwhelming reasons. One was President Ronald Reagan's military buildup gave an overwhelming advantage. And two, military and Pentagon leadership had previous formative battlefield experiences. The men who led this department during the Gulf War were mostly combat veterans of the Vietnam War. They said never again to mission creep or nebulous end states. The same holds true today. Our civilian and military leadership is chock full of veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who say never again to nation building and nebulous end states. This clear-eyed view, all the way in the White House, combined with President Trump's military buildup, postures us for future victories if, and we will, and when we embrace the War Department. And we must. We are preparing every day. We have to be prepared for war, not for defense. We're training warriors, not defenders. We fight wars to win, not to defend. Defense is something you do all the time. It's inherently reactionary and can lead to overuse, overreach, and mission creep. War is something you do sparingly, on our own terms, and with clear aims. We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy.
I love it.
We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement. We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense, maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters. That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted, back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations, and then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful. A few months ago, I was at the White House when President Trump announced his Liberation Day for America's trade policy. It was a landmark day. Well, today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authority. You kill people and break things for a living.
Yes.
You are not politically correct and don't necessarily belong always in polite society.
Yes.
We are not an army of one. We are a joint force of millions of selfless Americans. We are warriors. We are purpose-built, not for fair weather, blue skies, or calm seas. We were built to load up in the back of helicopters, 5 tons, or Zodiacs in the dead of night, in fair weather or foul, to go to dangerous places, to find those who would do our nation harm, and deliver justice on behalf of the American people in close and brutal combat if necessary. You are different. We fight not because we hate what's in front of us. We fight because we love what's behind us.
100%.
You see, the Ivy League faculty lounges will never understand us, and that's okay. Because they could never do what you do. The media will mischaracterize us, and that's okay. Because deep down, they know the reason they can do what they do is you. In this profession, you feel comfortable inside the violence so that our citizens can live peacefully. Lethality is our calling card, and victory, our only acceptable end state. In closing, a few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it. But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them, guide them, protect them, watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them. And amen. I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray this prayer for each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President Trump has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
So,
Yeah,
there
okay.
you go.
Yes, it was, Paul. There was the Army Air Corps. 99.9% of what he said, I agree with 100%. A few things will be to be determined.
Mm-hmm.
I want to look up the social media rules to see how those are and then see what's going on with that. As you and I both said, Air Force, Navy we're different animals than the Marines and the Army.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things when we had our exercises and we were prepping jets to fly, loading missiles. Because I worked fighters, I didn't work bombers, so we didn't load air to ground. We weren't. I was air F-15A through D. I didn't work on the E's, the mud heads. The E model was a bomb, had bomb capability. So that's why we called them the mud hens instead of the eagles. Eagles do air to air, mud hens air to mud. But and then when I was in Germany, and I was in Germany during the Cold War, and the unit I was in was a NATO task unit, and we were also responsible for the alert facility. So that meant every jet I touched, and some of the ones I had to touch on frequent basis, had live munitions on them, ready to go and blow other aircraft out of the air.
Yep.
That meant that pilot depended on me and the other maintainers to ensure that jet was going to get him there and back in one piece. And that is a hell of a responsibility and that was the one thing that when we got new people in, be they an E2 or an E5 that had never been to an active base before, we would sit down and talk with them and explain to them the seriousness of what we did. We weren't a training unit. We were a fighting unit. And that was something to get through these people's minds the whole time that we were there. That what we did, it wasn't like a training unit where all, they went up and just punched holes in the sky. These guys were going up with the inevitability of not coming back if we didn't do our job correctly.
Yeah.
And that's a serious responsibility. Because it's not your life, it's someone else's life. I wish, and again, he's facing everything from a ground pounder's mentality, which is not a bad thing. I wish and hope that he gets a little more exposure to the rest of the military forces.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the upper echelons, but like he said, the E6. Go out and spend a day in a aircraft unit without them knowing you're coming in, and dudding everything up and preparing to punch a bunch of expensive holes in the sky just to show off. But to get out there and see how the guys actually work. Like he knows how the ground pounders actually work. Or get some damn good advisors from the Air Force. Enlisted advisors. Get a few E6s to come up and talk to them.
Yep.
Some scope dopes and flight line maintenance. Because and I'm saying, and understand, I'm saying scope dope with all love here.
Oh, I understand, man. I stopped taking that personally a long time ago.
Because my girlfriend explained to me, and that's a hard job. You have got to have a capability to sit there and watch that scope for hours without blinking.
Pretty much. And one job, literally. But yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Now, and all seriousness here, okay, because this question just popped up into my mind about that. All right, I'm going to assume that they'd have 2 or 3 extra people per shift that you could rotate out so you could take a break.
Okay.
Like every 20, 30 minutes and get off that scope for a little bit, to stretch your legs and rest your eyeballs.
In radars, we would just kind of swap out, the crew chief would keep an eye on things or whatnot. But in infrared, space-based infrared, oh, that was hard. And it was literally in our regs, we were not supposed to spend more than 90 minutes on console at a time. But we were always critically undermanned and forced to pull 3-hour supports. So double what we were by reg supposed to be doing.
So you didn't sit there and drink coffee and have to take a piss break.
Somebody would have to come special to relieve you.
You'd have a trolley man's friend with you.
Yeah. I came up with the trick of I would, because caffeine only affects me so much, I grew such a tolerance to it, I'd pop hot peppers.
Ooh.
To keep me alert.
That will do it. Habaneros or just jalapenos?
The best ones I found were little pickled Tabasco peppers.
Oh, okay.
And I can't find them anymore, but I used to pop the hell out of those suckers. Start getting a little bit fuzzy and chomp one down. It didn't last long, but it perked you.
Okay, Ron, we'll take a look at the kitty thing. Just cute. Okay, I'll take a look at that. But yeah, but I tell you, I've always supported Pete in this job, because not that I knew that he was the right person, 100% knew he was the right person, but because I knew his background was the right background.
I liked the fact that he wasn't a general.
Right.
He wasn't one of these politicians that have greased their way up the ladder for the last 30 years. He was line officer right in the middle.
Yeah. But when the left came after him, I defended him. But after listening to this speech, this 45 minutes,
Mhm.
one impressive is he never had a note one with him.
Yep.
He never had a note one with him, so that impressed me. But the other thing is what said. What he said was so impressive. And like I said, I agree with 99.9% of what he said, and the rest of it with certain modifications. I could live with it. And that's just because of the difference in the requirements of the military, of the job of the different branches.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything you want to add, Retro?
No, I was getting ready to punch off.
Yeah, because
you
we're
were
coming
gonna
up on
go
4.
longer.
No, we're coming up on 4 hours. I'm at my limit.
Yeah.
I haven't done one this long since election day.
Yeah.
When I think I
Okay.
did like a 6-hour stream. Well, Ron popped up a kitten video she wants us to watch real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll be out of here.
Oh my God.
That's cute.
Oh my God.
This is the one Ramen gave us.
Oh, okay. Oh.
That cat willingly. Wow.
That's good, kitty.
Yeah, this is definitely a good kitten there. Going after that little boy like that. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for the video, Ramen. All right. Hey, I really appreciate you coming out here, and
not a problem. I appreciate you covering it. I was really interested in what your opinions were going to be on it.
I liked it. I'm really impressed with his delivery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I just hope he can get at least half of what he wants undone, but we'll see.
If he manages to get half of it, that will be a hell of an improvement over what the military is today.
I hope Republicans win in 28 and he gets to be carried over, as of right now, anyway.
Have JD Vance take over, JD Vance be president and keep him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice. Because I tell you, JD Vance is really impressing me also.
He is.
So I am not unhappy with our current leadership. There's
Trump can go a little far sometimes, but he's always been that way.
Yeah, a lot of Trump's problems that he's currently got are of his own making.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, let's you and I get out of here. Thank you much. 4-hour stream. But then I tell you, it's kept me out of the wife's clutches for working in the garage. I'm going to go another 2 or 4 hours just to stay out of the garage.
Well, I got some things I need to get done as well.
Yeah,
So.
so do I. So do I. I got stuff I need to do. But anyway, you have a good one. Thank you much, and hopefully you'll come online again with this time have an avatar ready.
I try.
Unless that's you, a black hole.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and punch.
All right. Have a good one. All right, guys. Thanks much. Appreciate everybody. Have a good one. Hopefully, we'll be back tomorrow. Bye, y'all.